After 5.1, we now move into section 6, which is on measures of length. We will be working with measures of length in both the US and the metric system, but we're going to start off with the US system first. The US system is the one that most of us are familiar with, that uses things like feet, miles, ounces, and gallons as kind of like their typical units of measurement. For length, we use inches, feet, yards, and miles as the natural lengths. And the relationships amongst these are the ones that you should know. That there's 12 inches in 1 foot, 3 feet to 1 yard, 36 inches in a yard, and then there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. In order to convert from one unit of length to another in the English system, we're going to use unit fraction approaches. When we define a unit fraction, it's something that's going to be equivalent to 1, but will allow us to change the form. For example, if I write 12 inches over 1 foot, this is a unit fraction that's equivalent to 1 because we have the same amount in the numerator as what we do in the denominator. We know from above that 12 inches is equivalent to 1 foot. So even though it's not numerically 1, it's a unit fraction that's equivalent to 1 because we have the same amount on top as we do on the bottom. The only thing that's different is the units. So a unit fraction we could use 12 inches over 1 foot or 1 foot over 12 inches. Similarly, because 3 feet equals 1 yard, 3 foot over 1 yard or vice versa would be a unit fraction. Or we could even write 5,280 feet over 1 mile. It would be equivalent to 1, or 1 mile over 5,280 feet, because those two are equal in measurement. Let's see how we can use unit fractions in order to do our English conversions. The first thing we want to do is convert from feet to inches. If I have 8 feet, to help me, I'm going to put it on top of 1. The way I always recommend and advise students to do this is before you worry about plugging numbers into this unit fraction, let's get the units in the right place. We are starting with feet. Now, if I want to get rid of feet, in order to get that to cancel, I would need to put that in the denominator of my fraction. And then the thing that I'm going to convert to, the inches, I'm going to put that up top. So get the units in first, and now that'll help us to get the numbers in. The relationship here is we know that 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. So we can now go ahead and multiply. The feet will cancel. We multiply the tops. 8 times 12 is 96 inches. In the denominator, we have just 1 times 1, which is 1. And so we get a final answer of 96 inches. So 8 feet is equivalent to 96 inches. Let's take a look at the next one. If I want to convert 7 yards, which I can write as 7 over 1, to feet, I need to get rid of that yards unit. To get rid of it, if it's in the numerator, then I'm going to need to put it on the bottom of my unit fraction. I'm going to go 2 feet, so I'm going to put feet at the top, and now I'm going to plug in that relationship. It's 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. We can now multiply. The yards units will cancel, so that's going to leave us with units of feet. Multiply the tops. So 3 times 7 is 21 over 1, or simply just 21 feet. So 7 yards is 21 feet. Let's convert 15 inches to feet, and we can use decimals for our final answer on this one. So we have 15 inches, which I'm going to write as 15 inches over 1. If I want to get rid of the inches unit, then inches has to go on the bottom. I want to convert 2 feet, so feet goes on the top. The relationship here is that 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. Inches cancel, so my final answer is going to come out in terms of feet. Multiply the tops. 15 times 1 is 15. 1 times 12 is 12. And now we can do our division in a calculator. 15 divided by 12 should give us 1.25 feet. So 15 inches is 1.25, or you could call it 1 1/4 feet. In example 4, they say that the distance by air from JFK to LaGuardia Airport in New York is 11 miles. They want to know how many inches is that. So we're going to do the same thing because we're converting from one English unit or one US unit to another US unit. We're going to use the unit fraction approach. Now, if we go back to our table that we had, there was no relationship that said how many miles are in an inch. So there's no direct relationship between miles and inches. However, one of the things that we do know is we do know how many feet are in a mile. And if we can then convert to feet, we know how many inches are in a foot. So the strategy here is we're going to have to do a double conversion bridge where we first go from miles to feet, and then we can go from feet to inches. So let's do that. So starting off, I want to get rid of miles and I want to go to feet. If miles is on the top, then the miles unit is going to have to go on the bottom. My feet go on the top. Can get the units in first. Now we'll do the numbers. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. At this stage, the miles units cancel, and this would leave us with a number that's in terms of feet. I can add another unit fraction to get rid of the feet and go to inches. Again, if feet's up top, then to get rid of it, I have to put it on the bottom. I want to go 2 inches, so inches goes on top. And we know that it's 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. This will cancel the feet unit, and notice that our final units will come out in terms of inches. Once we have all of our fractions completed and set up, you just multiply the top numbers. That's 11 times 5,280 times 12, which is going to be 696,960. Notice the denominator is just going to be 1 times 1 times 1, so it's going to be over 1, which means that it's just going to be that 696,960 inches value. So that's how the distance between JFK and LaGuardia, but expressed in terms of inches. Let's take a look at example 5. They say that the highest point on Earth is Mount Everest, which is at 29,035 feet. How many miles is that? So we want to do our conversion. This is still US to US. If I want to get rid of feet, then feet's going to have to go on the bottom. I'm going to go 2 miles, so miles goes on top. We know that this will get the feet to cancel. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Let's go ahead and work it out. We multiply the tops together. That's going to be 29,035. Multiply the bottoms together. That's going to be 5,280. And then so lastly, we just have to divide. And we're going to round it. If I round it to the nearest tenth, it would be about 5.5 miles. So about 5.5 miles. And it's not exactly equal to. I did round it, so I'll say it's approximately equal to. Let's take a look at example 6. Here they say that most Major League pitchers throw the ball at least 90 miles per hour. Can we convert this rate to feet per second? So 90 miles per hour means it's 90 miles for each hour, for 1 hour. Not only do we have to convert the distance unit from miles into feet, but we need to convert the time from hours into seconds. I'm going to do this with just one long factor bridge. Let's work on converting the distance first. Let's go from miles to feet. I can get rid of miles if I put feet in the numerator and miles on the bottom. We know the relationship that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. This will cancel. And at this stage, we will now have feet per hour. So we have the correct distance unit. Now we need to work some conversions with time. If I want to get rid of hours, notice hours is in the bottom, then I'd have to put hours in the top And let's go to minutes first. I know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. The hours cancel. This leaves us with feet per minute, but we need to go to feet per second. To get rid of minutes, if it's on the bottom, I put it up top. Seconds goes in the denominator, and it's 1 minute is 60 seconds. This would cancel, that would cancel, and our final units up top are going to be feet, and the denominator is going to be seconds. So we're going to get feet per second. We now simply multiply all of the numerators together. So we have 90 times 5,280 times 1 times 1. That'll give us 475,200, 475,200. And the denominator, we multiply all those values together. 1 times 1 times 60 times 60. That should be 3,600. And then for our final answer, we can just divide. Take your final numerator, divided by your final denominator, and we would get 132 feet per second. So that's how fast most Major League Baseball pitchers can pitch. The ball is moving at about 132 feet per second. Let's look at converting another rate. They say that the speed of sound at sea level and room temperature is about 1,126 feet per second. We want to convert that into miles per hour. So same kind of idea. I have my 1,126 feet. I'm going to put that over top of seconds. And we need to convert this. Let's focus on the distance units first. We want to go from feet to miles. If feet is on top, then to get rid of it, I have to put it on the bottom. Miles will go on top. The relationship is that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Cancel, cancel. This will now give us with miles per second, but we want to change the seconds into hours. To do so, let's first convert to minutes. To get rid of seconds, if seconds is on the bottom, then I need to put seconds on the top over here and minutes on the bottom. 60 seconds is equivalent to 1 minute. Cancel, cancel. This would give us miles per minute at the moment. To go to hours, we want to get rid of minutes. So minutes are going to go on top. Hours are going to go on the bottom. And it's 60 of the minutes corresponds to 1 hour. The minutes cancel, and we're left with miles per hour. Let's see what this is going to give us. So when you're done setting up your bridges, multiply all of the numerators together. 1,126 times 1 times 60 times 60. And then multiply all of your denominator numbers together. 1 times 5,280 times 1 times 1 will give us 5,280. And then for the last step, take your final numerator, divide it by your final denominator, and we would get about, and I'm just going to round it to the nearest tenth, approximately 767.7 miles per hour. So that's the speed of sound under those given conditions. It moves at about 767 miles per hour. The next system we're going to look at now is the metric system, which is used in Europe and a lot of the world. And the metric system is based on powers of 10. Whether we're talking about lengths as we are right now, which the base unit is going to be the meter for the metric system, which is abbreviated M, or later on when we go to things like weights, which will be grams, and liters, which will be L, it's always based on powers of 10 of that base unit. So we have the meter. A decameter, which is abbreviated DAM, would be 10 meters. A hectometer or a hectometer would be 100 meters. The prefix is HM. Kilo means 1,000, so a kilometer or kilometer is 1,000 meters. We can also have a fractional power of 10. Excuse me, not a fractional power, but a reciprocal power of 10. Things like a tenth of a meter would be a decimeter. A hundredth of a meter would be a centimeter. and a thousandth of a meter would be what we call 1 millimeter. The reason why the metric system is so convenient is because the reason why every unit is just a power of 10 means that whenever we do conversions, all we need to do is slide the decimal point a certain number of spaces either to the left or to the right. And to help us kind of memorize that saying, some people use this device. It's King Henry died blank drinking chocolate milk. So King Henry died blank drinking chocolate milk. That would give us the prefix. So the blank is your base unit. If we're talking about lengths, the base unit is the meter. The K stands for kilo, so that's kilometers. Henry stands for hecto, that's HM. Died, that's going to be the deca, that's going to be DAM. Drinking is deci, that's DM. Chocolate, C is for centi. And milk, M is for milli. The only thing you got to be a little bit careful is there's two D words in this expression, the died and drinking. The first one stands for deca, which is DAM. And then the second one is deci, which is just DM. So kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. If we know those units, then that will help us to do our conversions. And here's how it's going to work. For example, if I wanted to convert 2.3 meters to centimeters, if I know my units, so I'm going to say King Henry died blank drinking chocolate milk. We're starting with meters, and we want to convert it to millimeters. So what you need to do is just go to the meters unit that's starting here, and I want to end up here at centimeters. Just count how many hops or how many steps that would take. Well, one step to deci, and then one more step to centi. So not only do we see which direction the decimal point has to go, it's going to be two places, but we also know the direction. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to my 2.3, and I'm going to slide that decimal spot two places to the right. I would have to add a 0, but the answer we get is going to be 230 centimeters. Let's look at the next one. We want to convert 450,000 millimeters into meters. So again, I have to know my metric conversions. The King Henry died blank, so base unit, drinking chocolate milk. Our units in this problem, so we are starting with millimeters, and we're asked to convert to meters. So I'm starting here. I want to end up here. Count the hops, count the steps. 1, 2, 3, and in particular, it's 3 to the left. So all I'm going to do in my number is take the decimal spot. I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 to the left, and the final value I get is going to be 450 meters. So 450,000 millimeters would be equivalent to 450 meters. Let's look at the next one. We want to convert 3,500 meters to kilometers. So I have to know my conversions. King Henry died blank drinking chocolate milk. So we're starting with meters, and we want to go 2 kilometers. So meters is here, kilometers is here. We see that that's 1, 2, 3 steps to the left. So I take my decimal point in the number and I move it 1, 2, 3 steps to the left. Should put it right between the 3 and the 5. So 3,500 meters would be the same thing as 3.5 kilometers. 3.5 kilometers. For the next one, we want to go from meters to millimeters. while I already have the diagram up above, let's just use that. So now we're starting with meters again, and I want to go to millimeters. It should be mm. That's where I want to end up. That would be 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So I take my number 2.5 and I move the decimal spot 3 places to the right. Once goes around the 5, I have 2 more to go, so I need to add 2 zeros, and we would get 2,500 millimeters. So 2.5 meters would be equivalent to 2,500 millimeters. The next thing we're going to look at now is conversions between these two. So on occasion, we want to convert back and forth between the US and the metric system. And these were not really designed and created to be compatible. So the conversions aren't nice like 1 to 2 or like 3 to 1. So we always kind of get like these fractional decimal values that appear whenever you convert between the two units. In order to actually execute the conversions, we're going to go back and use a unit fraction approach to do this. So the easiest way to, as we're kind of moving through this chapter here, to think about how are you going to do the conversions. If any conversion is within the metric system, it's always going to be a decimal point slide using that King Henry saying. Anytime the US system is involved, whether it's US to US or US to metric, then you're going to use a unit fraction approach. And we can see here some of the different equivalences that we have. In example 12, we're asked to convert 135 feet to centimeters. I know feet is a US unit. I know centimeters is a metric unit. So we're going to have to use that table, which will be given to you on the test. So I'm going to convert from feet to centimeters. So to get rid of feet would have to go on the bottom. Centimeters would have to go on the top. And let's come up here and see if we can see a relationship between feet and centimeters. So it looks like 1 foot is 30.48 centimeters. So 1 of the foot is 30.48 centimeters. The feet cancel. Our answer will come out in terms of centimeters. We multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and then take final numerator divided by final denominator, and we should get about 4,114.8 centimeters. So 135 feet would be this many centimeters. Let's take a look at the next one. We want to convert 87 centimeters to inches. So we want to know a relationship between centimeters and inches. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So to get rid of centimeters would have to go on the bottom, inches would go on the top, and it's 1 of the inches is 2.54 centimeters. Centimeters cancel, multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and we would get this answer. Final numerator divided by final denominator should give us about 34.3 inches. Let's do one more of these. We have 213.36 millimeters, and we want to convert this to feet. So let's come up to our table here. Millimeters to feet, millimeters to feet. I'm not seeing one. So there is no relationship between millimeters to feet. But notice, what do we have? We have millimeters to inches. 1 millimeter is 0.03937 inches. So I could convert from millimeters to inches. And then once we're at inches, then obviously we know how to then go ahead and convert to feet. So this is going to be one of our double bridges for our unit fraction approach. I'm going to first convert from millimeters into inches. 1 millimeter, where'd it go? Is 0.03937 inches. And then that would give us inches. To get rid of inches, inches goes on the bottom, feet goes on the top. We know that 1 foot is the same thing as 12 inches. Let's work it out. We take our numerators, multiply them all together. So 213.36 times 0.03937 times 1. That would give us about 8.3999832. Again, I'm writing it all the way out because I'm not going to round into the end. In the denominator, we have 1 times 1 times 12, which is 12. And then final top divided by final bottom. We get approximately, to the nearest tenth, would be about 0.7 feet. So about 7/10 of a foot.